All right. Looks like I ought to be live. Gonna go make sure, see how long our delay is gonna be this time. Got a pretty interesting topic today. Oh, there it is. Okay. So, not my usual thing. I don't really know how this came even to my attention. It was something I was aware of going back a while, seeing some rumblings about it and stuff. It could be, maybe it was in my feed or something from all this stuff with the drones in New Jersey. I don't really know. I don't know how I come across these things. Just sort of pops up every now and then. This doesn't have anything to do with the drones in New Jersey, by the way. Totally unrelated, completely different thing. I don't really, whatever. I think it's just a bunch of people over there freaking out, watching airplanes take off, probably. Today, we're talking about like regular consumer drones, mostly, not just consumer drones, actually. They could be drones. We're talking specifically about drones from China, I guess is what I should say. We're talking about the DJI drone ban, which is a huge company. It's the biggest drone company in the world, I think, at least as far as non-military drones go. And I don't know, maybe just overall. I don't know what all is included in that, but I know like your typical consumer drones, and I believe it's true for even industrial drones used for businesses and by the government and stuff. Um, I think they control like 70 to 80% of the market. I've heard different numbers on that. It seems like it's come down some. Uh, and also just other Chinese drone companies in general. They're basically all the consumer drones, the drones that, Jojo Fuckface out there who's just like flying around a little toy drone with a camera, or the guy who is like taking photography pictures or doing social media stuff with drones. Um, Basically, all of those are coming from China, essentially. There's a few like minor exceptions I can get into in a little bit, uh, but that's what we're talking about here. Is the government wants to ban these? It seems like it's going to be going through, and the reason they want to do this, I mean, I'm going to pop up just so I can show you the kind of thing I'm talking about here. We'll use some visual aids since we've got that ability. I'll just show you. Let's see here. Let me find a picture of one of these guys. Okay. So if you can see this, this is the kind of thing I'm talking about. It's a very small drone. This is one of the more popular ones. It's the DJI Mini Pro 3, I think is its full name. Mini 3, Mini 3 Pro. So this is a really popular one. It's fairly inexpensive, less than $1,000. I think these are actually probably, I don't know, 500 or 600. I think they have a newer model than this that's out in this category. So they make a ton of different drones, this company. This one's extremely small. This is something that could fit in your hand, that anyone can get and buy and fly. It's under the weight restriction, which is 250 grams. Drones that are bigger than that have to be registered with the FAA. So this is extremely simple. Basically, anyone can just get one of these, fly it around, take pictures and shit. Very popular, very fun. And their drones are, as far as I can tell, the consensus on the internet seems to be that these DJI drones are just the best. They're the best for your money and their quality. There are like better things, and there's some competitors at the higher levels when you're talking about thousands of dollars. And with the, kind of professional drones, I guess what I would call industrial enterprise drones might be a better word. Enterprise drones. So those are the ones being used for business and agriculture and that kind of shit. Utility companies, whatever. Many thousands of dollars. This is not that, but this company makes all different levels. So this is like the really small photography one. They probably have even cheaper ones than this that are smaller. And then they have bigger ones that you could get registered and still use as like your hobby or whatever. I'm just trying to get across the point that there's a lot of these, all different kinds, used for all sorts of different shit. And this company is just apparently the best at making it and making it for a reasonable price. And then all the other companies that you would even consider as kind of competitors to these guys are Chinese-based companies too. And so, what's the issue with this? The issue is that these all involve, not all of them, but like especially ones like this. They involve you like downloading apps and using your phone to essentially, a lot of times you're using your phone to pilot it, or it's the phone is connected to the camera, and it's e- essentially harvesting, or has, they are collecting data. They have to, just as a process of operating these things and making them work, because you have to get the app on there and they have to process certain data through your phone through this app, which is gonna, it's got a GPS locator on it, so it has to know its own location. It's gonna obviously be processing image data and video and shit like that. And basically, the Chinese government has access to all of that shit, just all of it, and they could use this for spying. And they're not obviously going to be spying on just whoever's flying this drone around. They don't give a fuck if it's just some random asshole on a camping trip flying around a drone. Obviously, don't care. Like, it's not like that guy has something to worry about. What they would be doing with this is, well, potentially a whole host of even just like unimaginable things they could be doing. But for example, it could be that they want to know or spy on some sensitive area that they got some intel on, like, oh, this might be located around here. Well, let's go look at this location data and just pull up all of the fuck faces that were flying around drones in this area, and then just start pouring through the images and video that we can get out of that, and just see what's kind of going on around there. But it could be even more mundane shit that they're just like, for whatever reason, they want to monitor like traffic patterns or some shit. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's like data is like, it's like gold in this century. Like, you don't know all of the potential uses that you could have for it, and the information you could extrapolate out of mass quantities of information that appears random, right, at any like given level. So this is just some asshole flying a drone around. Like, who cares? Like, what are they going to make out of that? Just some like random drone footage. What does it matter? It doesn't. It wouldn't matter if there was just like one of these or a couple dozen. It's that there's hundreds and thousands of the all over the place, and that's why this company particularly is being targeted. They're all a problem. They're all a problem. This one's the worst because there's so much data that they are collecting from all of these things, going off all over the place, flying around and taking in information of all different types. It's not just the visual information that you can get. There's other shit you can get off of this too, and there's the general issues of like having Chinese apps onto your phones and shit. But these things are particularly a problem. And then on top of that, just the idea that we're we've got so much drone technology being manufactured over there, that we're not even that we're investing into those companies. Essentially, where American consumers are giving them gobs of money to develop drone tech. None of that is good. None of it's good. So that's where we're starting off here. That's why people want to ban these things. They're coming from China, and China can use them to undermine our security and spy on us and harm us. And that's a basic overview, right? The drone guys, the guys who are like, I don't know what you'd call them, drone enthusiasts, drone fans, drone heads, whatever you'd like to call them, they're very upset about this. I'll show you a video of one of these guys freaking out about this. And on one level, I can kind of understand that. If you're just some guy and this is your hobby, and they're taking away basically the the most reasonable option that you've got to fly around and take pictures of stuff or whatever it is you're doing, and this is like the best you can get for the money, and there's not really anything that comes close. I'll show you something else here in a second uh, that could. I don't think they're completely shit out of luck, is what I should say, and they're going to be able to keep using these things. They probably shouldn't. They probably should uh, get rid of them altogether, and even the ones that are here currently. That would probably be the next step. But I'm sort of getting ahead of myself, so I'm gonna I'm going to go in and I'm going to play this video of this dude freaking out about this stuff so we can just sort of respond to him. So you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. They're being totally irrational about this, by the way. They don't even, they, at least seemingly, don't even understand the issue. They don't understand, like, why people would want to do this, even. And it's somewhat baffling that people are like this ignorant about this kind of thing, about our geopolitical situation and the kind of shit the Chinese get up to, and why you might want to do this. I'll just stop that. Let's just bring this dude up and listen to him go off about this. What's this guy's name? I think his name is like Original. What's his name? It was like Original Dubo. I think that's it. I'm just going to call him Dubo. That seems to fit. He seems like a Dubo. Dubo. Let's see. Where's this fucker? Okay, here he is. So this is him. We'll just listen. Just see what he's got to say. 1 second here. I think I've got him at the right time here. You went through a little intro thing, so we'll see.
There are 68 of you here in the chat watching live. Tonight, we're talking about sort of the future of DJI here in the United States, because, man, it's been a rough few months for DJI, facing an all-out ban, which seems to be in limbo right now. Seems to be, I say seemingly, but we know that that's not very well the case. The fact is that it goes back and forth between Senate and House when it comes to the ruling on things. So right now we are in the stage where right now everything is sitting back in the House's hands, and it's going to go back to Senate very soon. But lawmakers are pushing and prodding, poking and prodding. And a recent development actually has now included Anzu Robotics along with Cogito, which Cogito is the makers of the Specta drone and all the Specta variants of the.
Okay, so what he's talking about here, he's giving some more information that's probably useful. What he's talking about, the Specta guys, and I think Anzo is doing this too, these two companies. Effectively, they were just taking, I know Specta for sure, they were just taking the DJI drones and selling it through this other company, which is Specta. It's virtually the same drone. There may have been some extremely minor differences, but they were pretty much identical, and they were just selling it. And Specta is a Chinese company also, so just another Chinese company, like they all are. I dug through to try and find ones that weren't. There used to be this one that made a drone called Sky Dio. The Sky Dio 2, I think, was the popular one, and they don't even make it anymore. I think that was an American company, but they stopped doing those. They just do the kind of enterprise level industrial type drones now. So the ban, I think, is coming. So I agree with him on that. It's been getting kicked around for a while. There's probably bipartisan support in general for it, but Republicans want it more. Particularly, I think it's going to go through under the Trump administration, just because they're exceptionally hawkish on China. The team he's putting together are a bunch of China hawks, basically. He's going to bring one of them up here in a minute. So I think I think it will go through. And I think it's a good thing. I think they need to go further. I think they need to do it with all of them. And also tariff any of the drones, as I'll talk about this other company later, is a little bit of a different case. But they need to tariff any of them. They need to ban all the ones that don't have, or where the Chinese government has access to the data. That needs to be gone, which would leave you with virtually nothing other than one company, which maybe I'll bring them up in a bit. No, I'll just bring them up now, and then we'll listen to this guy talk. I'll let him finish. But so this other company, just to give you a better understanding of kind of what's going on here, virtually all the other ones, the Chinese companies, I think you would have access to the data. I think all of those need to get kicked out, even the ones that were here already, Because what the ban, which he'll explain in a second, is going to do is just stop new ones from coming in. I imagine they're going to try and go further than that too. That will be massively unpopular though, because people have already bought a ton of these, and if you tell them you can no longer use these things, that would be a much bigger issue. Let me see if I can bring up a picture of these guys. I think this is it. So I believe this is one of the drones from a company called EXO, which is pretty much universally despised by, not universally, it's hated on a lot by these drone nerds. Part of the reason they don't like it is I think that they had a shoddy history. They teamed up with a company called Hubsan, and Hubsan's a Chinese company that manufactures the drones, but XO is like an American company. They're owned by Open Store. They used to be, I think they were private. It was like some kid that got this company started. He was like literally like 22 or something. I think he was like 20 when he started the company, but it's been bought by Open Store now. So it's an American owned company. And they, as far as I understand, says on their website, they don't share data with China. They're in control of all the data that gets processed through these things. And they do kind of all the software stuff and customer service stuff as far as I can tell. But they say directly on their website, that's one of their selling points is we don't share data with China. Okay, so, I'm cool with that. That's fine. If you just want to make the shit over there, we make tons of stuff over there. I still think you should tariff even these drones, which would really piss them off because one of their biggest problems with these things is that they're too expensive. They're overpriced, and they're not even quite as good as the DJI drones. The newest ones they've made are pretty close. They're comparable. Like this one, I think, is comparable to that one I showed you before, the Mini 3 Pro. I think they've made another version, but like whatever. Typically, what you get with these is it'll have a slightly worse specs and then be more expensive. Is kind of what I can tell. There is one. Some of them I've seen where they're like $100 cheaper, but the specs aren't as good. And people complain that they're lying about their specs on them and all this shit. It's neither here nor there. What I'm trying to say is, I would be fine if they switched over to these things, but they wouldn't be happy with that. But this would be an alternative. So it's not like they're completely like you're not going to be able to buy anything. And this is also just to illustrate the sort of the magnitude of this issue, that there's literally like nothing being made in America. The closest you get is this company where it's like sort of owned by an American company that uses a Chinese manufacturer. Anyway, that's all just extra bonus info. Let's get back to this other dude. I'm just trying to explain it more thoroughly. We'll probably get into it as we listen to this guy. I don't know how long I want this to go. I feel like I've already kind of run down the kind of main points here. But these drone guys, oh my God. I don't know how much of a difference they can make, but I feel like they are going to stir up a bunch of shit. I don't think it'll matter, though. I think this will go through once the Trump administration gets in there. I don't think there's enough of the... it's not like, these guys are not like the gun activist groups that have like a ton of power and could actually like prevent legislation, like the NRA or something. I don't think they've got any kind of drone version of the NRA, but we'll see. Maybe they'll be getting up on that. And there's not really a need to, because no one's attacking the drones like themselves, other than the fact that they all come from China. Like I said, that other company, I'd be cool with. This guy fucking hates that company, by the way. That XO company, I saw some other videos of this dude just taking the absolute piss out of them. He fucking despises them. But like I said, that seems to be a pretty common sentiment from these people. Other than some of that company's newer drones, people seem to be okay with, I guess. But they all said they're too expensive.
The drones. And I'll read to you here something that Elise Stefanik tweeted out. I think it was today she tweeted it out. But I thought it was pretty interesting nonetheless. So let me actually go to the message here. I actually screenshot it because She's such a dumbass. Chinese military company DJI Global. Notice Chinese military company. That's how she addresses them. Knows that my legislation, the Countering CCP Drones Act, will be signed into law as part of this year's National Defense Bill, resulting in new models of DJI drones being banned from America. Okay, so let's take that for what it is. So she acknowledges the fact that existing, so that is there's something to be okay with, I guess. Existing models of DJI drones, and this also doesn't make any sense. So I'm going to try to break this down. Will be signed into law as a part of this year's National Defense Bill, resulting in new models. So that means anything that hasn't been released by DJI yet from being banned from America. So what you're saying is new models that aren't here right now are more dangerous to our national security than the existing drones that are currently here and have been here for well over 10 years. So new shit that hasn't hit the States is more dangerous than what's already here.
See, this is what I was talking about when I was saying these guys, he either doesn't actually, like, has absolutely no understanding of the issue or the problem, or he's being dishonest, or he just doesn't know fuck all about like politics and government. That could be, I don't know. But that just seems like such an unbelievably stupid, like, obviously they're not saying that. They're not saying the drones that aren't here are more dangerous than the ones that are here. That's crazy. I don't even know. It's difficult for me to believe that he isn't just being dishonest and like attempting to misinterpret what they're saying just because he's mad that he's not going to be able to buy these Chinese drones, which I don't even know why the fuck well, other than it's his job to bitch about this stuff on YouTube, and it's probably a popular thing to be upset about. He runs like a drone YouTube channel. So of course he wants to rant and rave because the people in his audience are going to be mad about this ban. So he's got to be against the ban. So he's got to come up with like dumb fucking talking points like this. But first off, yeah, they should also worry about the ones that are already here and go after those too. The reason they're not doing that is, and they might, this is a first step. The first thing you always do whenever you're trying to get rid of something, to ban something, to abolish it, you're going to stop the new shit from being created or imported wherever it's coming from. So like if you take for example, the ban on fully automatic weapons. What did they do? They didn't even like completely ban them, actually. What they did was say, you're not going to be able to manufacture new fully automatic weapons. I believe anything made after 1986, I believe, was the year. Anything made after that is not going to be allowed. But the stuff that already exists, that's already out there, these full auto weapons that were made before that year, can still be owned and bought and sold. Obviously, there's regulations and things you're going to have to get on that. You're going to have to get, you're going to have to pay an extra little tax and probably get a little license certification thing. But you can still have them and they can still be bought and sold within the US. Like they're still legal. You're not allowed to make new fully automatic weapons for consumers, the consumer public out there. And those virtually went all the way away. Like if you're going to find them out there, they're insanely expensive. First off, a fully automatic weapon's running you tens of thousands of dollars if you're trying to buy them because they're just not out there. It once you kill the supply, it starts to dwindle and it just crushes it, whatever it is. And you see this just with everything, anything. This goes back to like when they were passing bans on when they were trying to get rid of slavery with the abolitionists and stuff. What was the first thing they did? They stopped the importation of slaves. I mean, this is what you always fucking do. And nobody would come out and say, oh, what are you trying to say that fully automatic weapons that haven't even been created yet, that haven't been made yet, are more dangerous than the fully automatic weapons that are already here? Like, no, that would be so fucking stupid. That's what he's saying. Okay. That's his argument. And again, this is a first step. And the reason this would be a first step is it will begin to crush them and to dwindle their numbers. and to get rid of it, and have other companies which are approved that are not banned, like probably that EXO company, which I can't imagine, even if they got rid of all the Chinese shit, I don't think they'd care about them. If what they're saying is true on their website, which I presume that it is, that they're not sharing data with China, and that it's the data that gets processed through those things is effectively in American hands, those guys are probably good. They're probably straight. I don't think they give that much of a shit that the drones are being manufactured over there, other than they may try and slap a tariff on that to make them a little more expensive to try and it wouldn't even be I don't remember if he gets into this, but it's not that they would even want these things manufactured here so much in the US. That would be nice. That would be the most ideal, I suppose. But I don't think that matters. Like, personally, I don't give a shit if they're made in the US or whatever. I'd be totally fine if they were making them in just somewhere that wasn't China or another enemy nation. Like, if these drones were being manufactured in Japan, no one would give a fuck. No one would care. Like, make them in Japan, South Korea, Mexico. I don't fucking know. If they were coming from anywhere else, it wouldn't fucking matter. So this isn't like some, you know, autocracy thing, autocracy thing where you're talking about like, oh, we need to have everything manufactured within the borders of the United States. That doesn't fucking matter. It's about it being made over there, and stuff like drones, particularly something flying around with a camera on it. You're not going to want to be investing in the Chinese industries producing something like that, which potentially has security ramifications to it. You would want to invest in our own industries for sure. That would be the most ideal, or just not doing it with an enemy nation. But the most salient and important direct thing here is about the data. That's the most important issue, the most like direct and concerning thing here. Like I said, this guy is either being a fool or just totally fucking dishonest, because he's just ranting and raving for his fucking audience to rile them up, because that's what they like, because he's a YouTuber, and that's kind of what you do, I guess. Anyway, we'll let what did I say his name was? Dubo. We'll let him go. Can I see it here? Yeah, I don't know.
Let me keep reading because it gets better. She just digs herself deeper into her idiotic
Talking about
hole.
Elise Stefanik.
DJI is trying to evade this law. It's not a law yet. It's not a law. It's not a law because it hasn't been signed. It hasn't been received yet. Elise?
Oh God. You see how fucking obnoxious this is? Okay, dude. You see how autistic he's being? Oh, she called it a law. They're trying to evade this law. She's talking about they're trying to evade the law. Once the law is passed and it is a law, they are already doing, and he knows this. He fucking knows this is the thing. There's no fucking way he couldn't know this. The reason they are sending their drones here through a company like Specta, and which is owned by whatever the company that owned it. Was it Cogito, I think, is the name of the company that produces the Specta drones. So maybe Specta is not even the company name, or that's just the name of the company that makes sure. I don't fucking know. I think it's Cogito. Whoever the fuck they are. The reason that they're sending the drones through there is to avoid the ban. Like, he knows that. He does fucking know that. And obviously she's talking about, because everyone knows this is coming, including and especially DJI. So yeah, they're already doing stuff to preemptively avoid the law. This guy drives me up a fucking wall with that kind of shit.
A law is something that is signed off by the president of the United States.
Thank you. Oh my God.
Hasn't been done yet.
Sir.
It's not a law. It's not a law. There's nothing that they're not doing anything wrong yet. So we're breaking this down, but I'm helping you. I'm helping you figure this out as we go.
They're not doing anything
DJI
wrong
is trying to evade this law.
If we're going to be autistic about this, they're not doing anything wrong yet, then the fucking CCP, and I mean, the company's not, but the company's, it's effectively, there's no distinction between the state and the company and Chinese companies. Okay. Virtually none. They do whatever the hell they want. They're completely in charge. It's not like in the United States where you've got like independent corporations that have rights and shit. they're not doing anything wrong. There's 100% chance that this company is sharing data and info with the Chinese government that is meant to undermine American interests and security and help the CCP gain an edge on us. There's 100% chance of that. How the fuck do I know that? I don't even think he would deny that they've got the capability to access all of that data that goes through this drone company, DJI. And the idea that they wouldn't be doing that is completely undermined by everything we know. They flew a fucking massive spy balloon over the country, okay? Like, it's not a mystery that the Chinese government would want to do this, and we know that they have the ability to do it. So the idea that they're not is fucking nuts. Now, if you want to sit there and say, well, I don't have anything to be worried about as an individual, yeah, you're probably right, like in your individual life, unless you're working for the Defense Department. It's not like the Chinese government's going to try to come out and just fuck with some random guy for no fucking reason. There would be no reason to do that. It would obviously have externalities to it that they wouldn't want to have to put up with, and it would not really benefit them in any way. As long as you're flying your drone around, you're helping them out. So I don't know why they would care to fuck with you, unless they thought there was something. If you were someone, I don't know, super fucking important, that it would be worth trying to like directly. I don't know, do whatever the fuck to you to get your personal information. I don't think they're that worried about like this dude's personal information or any other random fuck. It's not that. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about that.
By white labeling their technology, but they will not get away with it. Good for you. Nothing gets past you. It's past time for the U.S. to stop allowing communist China's unfair trade practices to undermine U.S. economic prosperity and national security. We must ban DJI and start building our domestic drone manufacturing.
Hate seeing ads? It's almost 2025. You don't
Oh,
have
I got
to
an ad.
The internet is almost unusable with how many ads you have to scroll.
Yeah, tell me about it.
I don't think I'm good enough at reading this. I'll be right back.
Oh, this is where he goes full just nutcase. So what he was taking issue with there was like what I was explaining earlier. He's like, oh, well, the communists, we need to start building up our domestic drone manufacturer. Yeah, we do need to do all that shit. And this is Elise Stefanik again, who I believe is she's the new UN ambassador, right? Gonna be Trump guy. So let's see his little skit he puts on here. Well, let me see what you guys are saying. It looks like he's going to take a minute to do this. China is long-term enemy of the U.S., but abandoning Ukraine would just emboldens China to invade Taiwan, because if you cannot supply Ukraine to fight Russia, supplying Taiwan is even less likely. Yeah, no, we shouldn't. Those things are connected. You wouldn't want to embolden them to take, like, yeah, obviously that's why China's trying to help Russia out. They know eventually they want to seize Taiwan. If Russia can successfully do this and undermine us there, it kind of helps them, and it lets them gauge how much we're supporting Ukraine. But I think whatever we're doing for Ukraine, we do even more for Taiwan. Taiwan's more important to us than Ukraine. Not to say I'm not trying to downplay the importance of Ukraine, okay? But with the chip manufacturing that goes on in Taiwan, and it being part of the first island chain that blocks off China, it's massively, like, we'd be fucked if they got control of the chip fabs in Taiwan. We'd be better off if it looked like that was going to happen. We'd be better off just destroying them, blowing them up ourselves, to stop China from getting a technological edge on us, because that's what we'd call our third offset strategy. Part of the three important strategies we have for countering the fact that they outnumber us like 5-1 is our technological edge over them. Did you hear about Russian nuclear general being assassinated in Moscow? So, oh yeah, I did hear about that. They blew him up with like a scooter or something. Wasn't it something like that, like an electric scooter? Tankies are losing it. Yeah, no doubt. Got to get the ad block. Block ads. I don't know why I've never bothered. They don't bother. I can skip them in like 5 seconds. Not that big of a deal. Oh, they're going to release the. I'm surprised. I thought they would kind of squash the report after because it's an ethics report. It's an ethics committee report. So he's not a member of Congress anymore. Usually they don't release ethics reports on people who are not members of Congress. So that's a bit surprising. Interesting. Especially, it seemed like they might have if he was still being considered for AG, but I don't know why they do it now. Dude breathes pretty heavy.
Right, thank you, Elise.
Out of
Thank
breath.
you. I'll take it from here.
We're gonna get.
Let me
Trump
try to
breath.
break down what Elise is trying to say. Basically, what she's trying to say is that the U.S. market had an opportunity in Skydio, but Skydio just couldn't quite come together. Now, I've had several meetings with Adam Bry about his Skydio drones and flying over water and being able to do half as good as what our Chinese.
So what he's talking about right here, the Skydio thing, I think I mentioned them earlier. They were like an American company that made this, made a drone called Skydio. So right now he's basically mocking the idea of an American company being able to manufacture drones. That's just not even like possible. Like they have to be made in China. But here's the other issue with this: they don't. It's like I was saying earlier. We wouldn't give a fuck if these were being made in Japan. It's not about them. Yeah, I know Elise said she wants to invest in American domestic drone manufacturing, which we should do. I'd be all for that. Like I've said before, that would be the most ideal situation. But if these were drones being made in like Japan, we wouldn't ban them. If they're being made in fucking like almost anywhere other than like China or Russia or Iran or something like that, wouldn't ban them. But yeah, this guy, he's upset that obviously he doesn't seem to like Trump or Elise Stefanik. Very upset with these types of people. I saw him and he really, he seems anti-American. I don't want to. I don't know much about this dude, so I don't want to throw it out there. But I did see him in like another. They saw him reviewing some other drone. He was like upset that it had a red, white, and blue paint job. He said it looked like to make America great again or something, because it was red, white, and blue. It had like some stars on it, I think. It's like upsetting to him. So I don't know what his deal is. Like it's kind of weird. He's very. It seems to be very like have like no concerns, I guess, about these Chinese companies. I think he used to work for one of these companies, one of these Chinese companies, which would tell you, you know, a lot about it. I don't know that for sure. I thought I heard him mention that in like a stream he did with somebody in passing. I thought he said that. I don't know if he was just like a salesman for them or what he meant. I might have misunderstood him. I don't know. But I don't know. This is what I was talking about. When I was saying this guy's like unhinged with his shit, you know, he's doing the Trump thing and just like, oh, it's impossible. We tried to make drones in America and they sucked. So it's pointless to even try and do that. We need to just keep buying Chinese drones because otherwise, how am I supposed to take pictures, airborne footage on my camping trip with my kids? Like, what, if I can't buy a Chinese spy drone? Jesus. Where am I here? Oh, let's go back.
Counterparts have tried to do, but unfortunately, they're just not good enough. And the only way to beat the Chinese drones is to all out ban them. And what I've done is I've hired Elise to build an army of people that just don't like communist China. And basically, what we're going to do, we're going to beat the drones by banning the drones. We're not going to build better drones. We're going to build mediocre drones. We're going to basically build like the Ford of drones. It's going to be like the Pinto of drones. Not better, not worse, just okay. So hopefully that clarifies.
So he's upset. That's like I said, they're upset that they're making, or what would end up happening, presumably. And this is all assuming that like we wouldn't be able to get drones from other countries. Like the only place that they can be made that can make a decent drone is China. Right now, it seems like that is true, but there's other ways to go about this. I already mentioned the one company that manufactures there, doesn't let them access the data. There's this American company he's talking about, and what he's complaining about is just that this isn't it's the very best value for your money, the best quality thing. And this is like a consensus everyone seems to say about this. He's upset they're not going to be able to have access to this. We're not even like bringing up the fact about what that does to, like, it's worth the sacrifice is what I would say. I understand if you're like some complete drone nut guy, you're gonna be very upset that you don't have access to like every single fucking kind of the very like top of the line whatever. I'm gonna have to buy some like slightly less good drone. In the fact that they think it's worth doing that, it's worth undermining our security and allowing China to basically spy on us and get a leg up on us however they can, just so you can get like a slightly better quality, a slightly better value. I don't know. I think that's ridiculous. That's fucking absurd. The only person that could like this is why I'm not so worried about like this community, because I feel like the number of people that are going to give enough of a shit about this are so small that they're not gonna make any difference. Now, what I do think part of the reason they wouldn't want to get rid of, disable, ban all of the shit that's already here, that's already been bought, is because that is a lot of people, and that could upset them. They wouldn't understand all of this shit. You're some regular fucking guy. I bought a drone at, I don't know, Walmart. It's a DJI drone, and oh, now it just doesn't work, or it's illegal, and I just got it. It was like $300, and yeah, that would upset a lot of people. I don't think we have to worry too much about like this type of community.
Clarifies everything for you.
A simple email would have did just fine. You didn't have to come all the way here from Mar-a-Lago. I appreciate that though. So basically that's the bottom line, is that it says it all here in this tweet. They are fucking straight up lobbying to ban a competing drone.
Like, yeah. It's not that it's competing. Jesus. So what he's complaining about is now he's saying that the American companies, which, yeah, I'm sure the American companies want to abolish the competition so they don't have to worry about that. And it would allow them to get a better edge in, which is something he's going to start rambling about here in a sec. But we'll just let him go on here.
If their existing product is safe, why wouldn't a future product be safe? Don't toss us a bone. Don't toss.
It's because it's not. The existing products are not safe. They are using them to fuck with us. It's not about being safe for you as an individual. We're talking about it on a national level. What they're doing with this shit is collecting intel. Okay, they could be doing other shit too. It's not a matter of like, they're not going to use these drones to like go kill somebody or something. That's not what we're fucking talking about. And then there's the further point about just the bringing any kind of security, even potentially security related thing in here, because what could happen if we're in a massive fucking war? You could get essentially the government could come down and start forcing manufacturers to produce items from the military that we could need. And if you've got the ability to make small, cheap, quick drones in mass, yeah, we might need that. And they're not going to be obviously the exact same thing as these. They'd have to be upgraded, but you'd have to, if you've already got like the manufacturing capability domestically, you could easily tweak it and spin up something that could be used in a war zone. And it's not going to be your little, like, the same exact thing, but it would be something that can fly around, has a camera on it. That's useful. You'd have to probably beef up the range and the signals and make sure it can't be jammed and shit like that. But some of these things I've seen, they can go even the like little shit that like people are buying for hobbies and stuff. They can go like a dozen miles. The smaller ones are going to go like at a max like 5, maybe 5 or 6 miles. Some of them it's like over 10. They can stay up there for anywhere, like it just depends, like half an hour to an hour. You can do a lot of shit with that, but it's neither here nor there. Let's get back to what this fucking guy's he's bitching about the American companies, which, yeah, I'm sure they have financial interests where they want the competition ban. And that would help them. If you could get rid of this, that could allow them to enter in. Because right now, like, why would you want to try and compete with this monster of a company that controls like 70% of the market? You're never going to be able to get an edge up, to get a leg in, to even get started. And you're getting just demolished by guys like this who come on and give shitty reviews of any fucking like non-Chinese drone that they fucking get their hands on, which, I mean, virtually at this point all of them are Chinese. But even the one American one that existed, I think it was like a year ago, they stopped making the consumer level drone from Skydio. And he's still like bashing on them, like, oh, it sucks and it's crap, and like, I am sure it's not as good. I am not denying that. I'm just saying it would be nice if an American company or just a non-Chinese company could access the American market. It wouldn't even necessarily be American. Like if they were being made, like I said, somewhere else, in Mexico, I don't fucking know, and then they can like access the American market, because right now it's totally fucking flooded with these dudes and their drones, which are the best thing you can buy for the money, and so no one's going to be able to compete with that. Not to say they never could without a ban. I am sure it's possible. You got, like I said, that one company is doing that weird kind of hybrid thing where they're not going to let the data go in, but they're still going to make them over there. So, like I said, that's sort of a mixed bag, but it's way better. That's far superior to what's going on right now.
Toss us a half-ass bone and lie to the American people. Just call it for what it is. You're being lobbied. Nobody in the drone industry thought that Anzu was a self-proclaimed, original drone. Everybody in the drone industry knew exactly what Anzu was. Anzu wasn't designed to circumvent your legislation that you proposed. Anzu was brought in to circumvent local and state government agencies that were banning drones in place of inferior products.
So now he's doubling back. Like before, he said, "Oh, it wasn't designed to get around your law." Like, yeah, okay, well, whatever. And now he's saying, "Well, it was because of state and other laws they wanted to get around." It's both. It's the whole fucking thing. It's all of it. It's any laws banning these things. And now he's doing this weird fucking argument where he's like, "Well, no, it's just because the American companies are lobbying them. There's actually no security issue at all." Like, do you really think? Do you think that like how much fucking influence do you think the lobbying this one fucking like drone company in America that doesn't even make a consumer drone? There are no competitors right now doing it because, like I said, they can't. Do you think they have that much power to where if this was not a real issue, and I'm sure they do have lobbyists that go in there, but the things the lobbyists are saying aren't just untrue because it's a lobbyist saying it. Like if a lobbyist is going in there and saying, "Look, we need you to ban this," and yeah, obviously they have a financial incentive to do it, but there's real security concerns. Like that's not made up. And that would be an argument if you were a lobbyist for that company going in there. And it's probably not just that company that wants to do this. There's other interest groups, China hawks, people like me that want this shit gone too. And I don't have a dog in that fight. I don't have stock in some American drone company. I've got nothing other than I don't want to see us assisting the Chinese in undermining our security.
Not from a national level. That was an afterthought. Anzu was in place well before anything that Elise Stefanik was even proposing. That is the hilarious thing. But this is because politicians, they will lie straight to your face every.
And now he's getting very specific about Elise Stefanik. It's not just her, dude. It's not just her. Like, there are people, this has been in the works for a fucking while. There's people that wanted to do this. People have been talking about this for a long damn time. And like he's saying, oh, well, there was other state and local laws, but like, why the fuck do you think they're doing it? There was, state laws from Florida. We ban all sorts of shit from China. There's shit. Like, does he not realize this isn't real? Why are we trying to get rid of TikTok too? Like, why is that? Do you think that's because of like Facebook lobbying? Oh, we're mad at TikTok and we have, it's all that. No, it's all the same kind of shit, man. The same reasons they want to get rid of these drones. It's not entirely all of the same, but the one of the biggest reasons is the same reason they want to get rid of TikTok, and it has to do with the fucking data. And there's no way he doesn't fucking know that. And this whole thing with like, oh, they're trying to get around it or whatever. Like, of course they fucking are. Of course they'd want to get around this and still have access to the U.S. market. Like, what? I don't understand what he's... I don't even know what he's getting at here. Like, obviously, and what about the other company? What about the Cogito company? When did that come around? I think they're pretty fucking new. I think that's in the last like couple of years. I don't know for sure. I'm not as into this shit as he probably fucking is. I'm not even really sure what he's fucking driving at.
Every given chance that they have. And it's all about who's going to tell you the better bullshit. That is really what it's all about at the end of the day. Who will spoon feed you the better bullshit? And I know she probably thought to herself, hey, I'm going to be on this ticket. I got to propose things that are appealing to my party's, alignment and ideas. Well, that just doesn't work. That just doesn't fly. So the reality is, until that's signed into law, we still are going to be able to use the existing drones, and DJI is still going to keep bringing new products in here. So I know, like, the security analysts, they were probably doing a victory lap. Like, we told you Anzu was DJI. We told you. Get a fucking life. Nobody knew. Nobody thought that it wasn't DJI. We knew.
Another ad. Jesus. I don't even know what the fuck this point is supposed to be. Like, oh, we knew, like, we weren't being deceived or tricked. Like, so fucking what? Like, what? Who the fuck gives a shit? Who gives a shit? Whether or not you knew. Like, you think anybody fucking, like, what fucking difference does that make? That's not even her main point. Like, it's not like she was saying, oh, they're being tricked into, oh, they're getting around this with this. And it's not just DJI. It's like I've said, it's all of them. It's all of the fucking Chinese companies, dude. So it's not just them. And if it's more about the manufacturing thing, which I've already said, I'm less concerned about that. I wouldn't, like I already talked about with that one company who manufactures over there, but controls the data and doesn't let them have it, evidently. So they say, if that's actually true, I still, it's not ideal, but it's not enough to where I would be so hawkish on banning it. I would be happy if they slapped a tariff on it, maybe, which would set this fucking dude off too. Like, oh god, we're gonna have to pay an extra $100 to get my fucking camera robot. Sorry, dude.
Like, that's like saying, wow, I'm driving this Infinity. It's definitely not Nissan, but everywhere on the engine and marked everywhere else is marked fucking Nissan. Come on, we know. We're not stupid.
Yes, you are.
It's a circumvention of a problem that was created by politicians that are out of touch, that don't have any common sense. But at some point, you have to tell the American people exactly why something is dangerous or shouldn't be used for them.
I like his thing where he's undermining like the motives, impugning the motives of all of these other people. What about this dude's motives? What about his motives to spew bullshit to people? This guy's job is to run a drone YouTube channel, right? I don't know. He probably does other shit too. He's probably a professional photographer, I would guess. He's running this drone channel. Is this big drone YouTube channel? What's he going to get on here and say? Is he going to get on here and say any of the shit that I just did, even if he knew it were true? Would he say that? Absolutely not, because it would piss off his audience because they want to be able to buy these cheap drones that perform better. They want the best bang for their buck because they don't give a shit about any of this stuff, even though they should. All they care about is, oh, I want to fly around my little buzz robot and snap photos of shit. That's all they fucking care about. And it's, you know, as long as it's nothing that's going to directly harm them personally, which it probably won't. Not on a personal, like, individual level. Not yet. It could be a small piece of a puzzle that adds up to a mountain of shit that does significantly hurt even you in your personal life generations from now. And that's not, you know, it's difficult to explain. It's like when you're in a conflict like we are with China, it's every little fucking thing. It's like they'll talk about in football, where they'll say it's a game of inches, right? Because sometimes, you know, every little inch you move the ball up the field matters, because sometimes you get the touchdown just by a hair, just by barely grazing the ball across the end zone there. Every little fucking thing matters when it comes to something like this. And the sort of competition we're in with them. It's not a short-term little this is a long-term multi-generational conflict like the Cold War. But none of this shit matters to him. And it just gets to me. But it's like someone imputing the motives of all these other people. Oh, they're just spewing off bullshit because, you know, they've got financial interest in that. You have financial interest in spewing off the shit you're saying right now, some of which I'm certain you don't even believe. It was like he's saying, oh, we knew all of this and blah, blah, blah. He knows it was that they're doing stuff to get around these laws, to try and circumnavigate these bans. Even if this went through, does he think that they wouldn't be trying to do shit to get around it, to make money, and for their, you know, the interest on top of that of spying on the U.S. effectively? He's got to know that,
because otherwise they're going to start fighting back. Especially when it has to do with people's livelihoods. People will fight back each and every time. And that's exactly what's happening. First responders are telling people to fuck off, like Skydio. They're not going about that. Why? Because
oh, God, this is bullshit, too. So now he's getting into like, oh, well, this is important because of the enterprise level, the drones that are using for like industrial shit and they use for the government or for companies that are like multi-thousands of dollars, some of this shit, the stuff you're using to like crop dust a field. There is, as far as I understand, American companies that make drones at that level. The real reason for this is not about the first responders. They'll be able to they're using government money, dude. They'll be able to replace, they'll be able to get fucking drone capabilities that are made by American companies. They don't have to use the Chinese shit. And we've had a ban, at least in the military, and I believe states and other places, on these DJI drones already, right? Where they're not going to use them for a lot of government shit and they definitely, absolutely should not be using them for any of that crap. I mean, you're talking about even first responder shit. Absolutely fucking not. That is, first responders are a leg of Homeland Security. That's like first level Homeland Security shit is first responders. They shouldn't be using anything. Fucking, like, that is fucking wild to me that he's now trying to argue that like first responders, which are police and like firefighters and shit, that they should be using shit which has data that can be essentially owned and processed and accessed by the Chinese government. They shouldn't even be using shit that's made over there. Fucking anything to do with them. We should not be using their tech for Homeland Security shit like first responders. Absolutely fucking not. Those are the people that are going to be responding to terrorist attacks. Like, fuck no. Fuck no. That is off the goddamn wall to me.
Because the drones aren't capable of doing what they needed to do.
That's a
I'd
problem.
love to see what their Ascend 2020.
If that's true, which I don't fucking believe, I think you'll be able to find some, spend more money. Just buy a more expensive model that can do the shit you need it to fucking do. And if you can't, they need to fix that. That is amazing. If that were true, which I don't even buy that, I'll defer to him because he is he probably knows way fucking more about drones and their capabilities than I do. Although I do think he's being dishonest and he's just making shit up, as I've already described, for his audience to like rile them up because this is an unpopular thing. And so this is a talking point and argument. But I don't know, like, let's go with it and say that he's on the up and up on this one. And he said what he's saying is true, that they can't access drones that aren't from China, that have data processed in China. They can't fucking do it without these. They can't do whatever it is they're needing to do. That needs to fucking change. And if it takes a ban in order to incentivize them to stop using those fucking things and start making better shit in America for homeland security purposes, like first responders, that absolutely has got to fucking change. I don't know that I necessarily buy that. I'd have to look into it more. But I know these companies like that Skydio company, they stopped making that consumer level, like little camera drone that you fly around for fun, or photography and shit. As far as I understand, those guys, and there's other companies that are non-Chinese companies that make big fucking like drones that we'd use for, I don't know, inspecting utilities or crop dusting or whatever the fuck you're doing with it. I don't know what a first responder, I'm guessing it'd be search and rescue shit. I feel like you'd be able to replace it and be able to find ways around that.
24 brings, because it's going to bring more of the 3D printed bullshit drones that they already have, garbage that doesn't work, to the table, because that's the best they can do. And they've had 6 years to try to compete with what China was doing. They couldn't do it. So if they haven't been able to do it before, they're not going to be able to do it now. And how come they haven't been able to do it? They'll blame it because, oh, it was unfair because of pricing. Well, that's a problem that was created by our own damn country, right?
So let's let him finish up here. But what he's driving at now is, oh, well, they'll never be able to do it. And the pricing thing is not an issue. We're talking about the government. If they have to spend some more money to not use Chinese shit for government purposes, like for first responders, or even for, I understand if you're a business and you're doing something, you're an agricultural business or whatever, you've got to spend more money. And we could subsidize them, right? We could subsidize the American shit. Hopefully they would do that to try and ease up some of the cost, to try and give them a leg up and bring them and make them more competitive and help them out. And we should be doing that. Like, there shouldn't be this weird libertarian thing of like, this is what tariffs are for. They shouldn't do tariffs on just every fucking thing, right? I've said before, sporting goods, no reason. I don't give a shit. Stuff that has security implications. When you want to undermine some foreign adversary that's producing it and encourage it to be produced domestically. Yeah, that's what tariffs are for, and we should want that. It's crazy to me. What did you say down here? What country would you love to kick out of NATO? For me, it's Hungary, because Orban and the troublemakers, while Turkey is too, but it's strategically important. Yeah, I would say Turkey would be mine. But it is an issue with the Black Sea, right? And its proximity to Russia. But there's obvious reasons to want to kick Turkey out. They undermine our interests in Syria. That's one place where they're like against the Kurds, who are our buddies, our bros over in Syria. They're locking down a whole bunch of ISIS prisoners for us over there. And the Turks hate them. The Turks tried to stop Finland, or was it Sweden? I think it was Sweden, and probably both of them, but then definitely Sweden, from getting into NATO and causing us a bunch of bullshit on that. They were doing, do you remember that thing with the F-35 where they were like, we were giving F-35s to Turkey, and then they were bringing in like these Russian, like, I don't remember if it was air detection or anti-air defense systems, but it had to do with the detection capability on the thing, where effectively it would effectively allow like the Russians to assess how well this system could counter the capabilities of an F-35 because they were utilizing it both at the same time in Turkey. It was just this annoying. It's all this little annoying shit. I think like they'll tend to support the opposite end of us on a lot of shit in the Middle East. But yeah, it'd probably be Turkey. Prediction for the end of the war in Russia-Ukraine. If we get Ukraine into NATO but sacrifice territories Russia is a deal I would make. We need to stop future. I don't think Russia would ever go for any deal where any part of Ukraine ends up in NATO. I don't think they would go for that. And it would have to be a total end to like any disputes. I think it's probably going to end up being locked in some kind of like a permanent fixed frozen war like North Korea and South Korea, where maybe they'll get them to agree to some sort of a ceasefire where it effectively draws the border where it is, but Ukraine can't come in to NATO, and they just have to, they don't get their territory back. I don't know. I don't have a lot of high hopes for it at this point. I don't know what they could agree to because I don't think Ukraine would want to. Like, why would Ukraine want that? I don't know. Like, I can't think of a scenario where both Russia and Ukraine are going to come to the table and agree. That's why they're still fighting. Like, right? I mean, that's why you fight a war if you think you'll be better off by continuing to fight than by surrendering. Barring some big, massive failure on one end where the one side's like, okay, fuck it, we got to stop. So we'll just take whatever we can get. I don't know. Maybe they could draw some sort of middle ground where Ukraine can come into the EU, or they become kind of a buffer state, or they get some kind of guarantees or something. I don't know. I really don't. Let's hear this guy. How long have I been on this? For like an hour? I probably don't need to go much more on this. I think I've made most of my points already, but we'll go a little further.
So why wasn't that problem rectified 3-4 years ago? If costs were too high for manufacturing, or you felt that you didn't have the technology to compete, something should have been said 3 or 4 years ago. Not now. Not now.
There were people saying this. I mean, there have been people saying this for a long fucking time, dude. Like, this isn't just coming out of nowhere. Maybe he's just hearing about it for the first time because the ban is likely to actually manifest and get pushed through. And there's also shit where this has come to people's attention. Obviously, issues with China have been heightened. We've learned way more about how they fuck with us over time. And it takes a while for politicians for shit to get on their radar, especially like nuanced little shit like this, like with how they're fucking us over by collecting the data and the ways in which that can affect us. It takes a while for all of that to add up. But what I would say is the reasons are all the same. It's not just you with the drones. They're coming after them on everything. And it's because our conflict with them has ramped up over the past decade, and especially the past, really the past 10 years. It was during the Trump administration, particularly, and then it just continued to escalate, even with Joe Biden in there. And all of the shit, the shit they have stolen from us, as far as like just intel, like the corporate spying, the innovations they've stolen from us, all sorts of shit. These people do not play fair. It's the fact that he's like, well, they can't compete. I don't give a shit if it was like they were actually like out competing them in some kind of free market scenario, and it's just about. But those libertarian arguments mean nothing to me when it comes to something like this that has security implications, that has to do with a foreign adversary. Like, we're not talking about drones being made in fucking France, okay? Like, this isn't that. If it were that, you might have an argument. If it was just some American company that wanted to fuck over some big competitor that was from Japan or South Korea or anywhere, it would not be an issue. Like, this would not come up. Like, there's a reason we're trying to get rid of TikTok. There's a reason we're trying to get rid of these guys too.
It's just hysterical. Let them have their victory lap for the moment. Let them have their victory lap for the moment, because that moment is fleeting. You think this is over? You think it's over? It's not over. It's only just starting. And just remember, there are people with more money, more influence than you, and they will always win against the little fucking nerds. Kevin, Mr. Finkelstein likes to dox people.
No idea what he's talking about right now. Someone in his chat, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not even really sure what he meant right there. Was he talking about like the people with the security concerns are gonna lose out on this? That it's not over, and we need to be worried about like the drone community? I don't think so. I do think that the ban is going to go through. I think there's going to be more shit to follow it. I think there's a lot of Democrats that'll get on board with stuff like this. Being anti-China is bipartisan. It's definitely like the Republicans are more hawkish on China, especially the MAGA crowd, the Trump administration people. There's a lot of China hawk Democrats too. So I don't know. Like, it's not going to be drone enthusiasts that come out and are going to. I don't think they're going to be able to stop this. I don't think there's enough people that are going to give a fuck. Because there's people that are heavily invested in it, like this dude, and there's probably a lot of people like him, but they're a drop in the bucket. The mass amounts of people aren't going to care, particularly when their Chinese shit is, they can still use it. It's still fine. And if there's like a 3-year transition period where, all of a sudden they can't use it anymore, now they've got to buy a new one, that might upset them a little bit. But after 3 years, there's going to be new shit that they can look at and be like, a lot of them are going to be thinking about upgrading their shit anyway, like at that point. And there's always going to be other shit. It's like I said with that XO company, which he fucking hates, and a lot of these guys hate because they say it's not as good. It costs a little bit more. That shit's still going to be getting sold here. And for most fucking people, they aren't going to know the difference. They're just going to be like, oh, it's a drone I bought at fucking Walmart or wherever you get it, open store, whatever. They're not going to fucking care. That's the reality. So I don't think we have to worry about this crowd turning this around on us somehow.
We'll see what happens this time, because now we're playing. You don't want to go down that rabbit hole again.
What is with the threats here?
Because it's not going to end very well for that party. Because now it takes the legal spout.
What does that even mean? Is he talking about like we're gonna get, like lawyer up or something? Or is he threatening them politically, like the Republicans are gonna take it on the nose if they ban a bunch of Chinese shit? I don't think so. Like this, again, it's not like the gun lobby. It's not like they have a drone version of the NRA. I don't ever see that happening. Like there's not as many drone people, and especially drone people that are super into it, like this guy. That is a small crowd. And when I say small, I'm not saying there's not thousands of these people. There probably are. There could be tens of thousands. It's not like with gun owners where there's millions and millions of them that are not just gun owners, but like gun advocates, pro Second Amendment people. It's not at all the same. And you've been able to get gun ban legislation passed in spite of that. Like they had an assault weapons ban. When did that go away in the 90s? Or was it passed in the 90s? Whichever. I guess it was neither here nor there. I think it was passed in the 90s. It didn't last. The sun set it away. They got rid of bump stocks under Trump. So they're still able to do stuff like that. This, I think, is much less of an issue. People don't like China. Still going to be able to buy shit that more or less does the same thing. Might be a little more expensive. Might not be as high quality. Whatever. I don't think it's that. Whatever. I've already made my point on this. I don't think he has that much.
This time I just go to legal route with him.
Like what? What are you going to
do? Not to mention that 3DR and GoPro were having their drones built in China. Yeah, they're all manufactured in China. Okay, that's not all the consumer level shit.
Yeah, but there's like the military grade stuff, the really fucking big shit. They do make that stuff here. But yeah, he's right about that. Like I said, with the Exo guy, I think that one is, I think Skydio. I don't know if they were manufactured there, or what the deal is. I know they were an American company. Not sure if they were being built here. They could have been. I don't fucking know. I don't fucking know. I would like to see that change too, though. I would like to see more domestic manufacturing of all that shit, or at the least, just non-Chinese. Make it somewhere else where you can get cheap labor.
Everything, but that's okay. We can't pick and choose when we want to be okay. We can't pick and choose when we are going to be okay with things that are manufactured in China. That is just not, we
What?
can't be. We
can absolutely do that. That's ridiculous. And for one thing, the manufacturing is less of an issue. Like I already said, that's less of an issue. It's not just the manufacturing, it's about who controls the data and has access to it. But yeah, we can absolutely pick and choose when we're okay with shit being manufactured in China. Some shit, it doesn't fucking matter at all. Like, we're not talking about like a baseball bat or a set of Legos. You know, I've said before, I don't even want our Happy Meal toys made in China. I would prefer us to make nothing there. And obviously, we can't make everything in America. That's not economically viable. And right now, because of the way we've invested so much, so many of our companies have invested so much of their manufacturing in China, it's not viable to just strip it all away overnight. I'm not like insane. I understand that you can't just like snap your fingers and it all goes away. And we're going to have to keep having shit made over there that comes over here. But we don't care if it's like something that doesn't have a security function that doesn't fucking matter. That's fine. Or if we care less if they're not like able to mine the data and use it the way they can with something like TikTok or with the apps associated with these drones and all of that shit. And this is part of the reason we offered like TikTok in essentially a way out of this, where they were like, you can continue on. You can have access to America. People could still use it here, but we're going to set it up in such a way. I think they were going to create some sort of other company, an American version, essentially. It was something like, I think, what was going on with this EXO thing, where it was like, well, they're going to sell it off and they'll have like American TikTok where they just can't access any of the data or actually control the way it's used in the United States. So they can't, like what they do with TikTok, it's not even just about the data either. They push just garbage onto kids to promote like insanity and mental illness and self-harm and just stupidity and ignorance and confusion. Like that's how sick they are. Okay. Like in China, TikTok, it's just a constant. First off, it's limited for how long like a kid can sit there and flip around and use it. And it promotes like educational material and like morality and shit like that. They're not like pushing trash on their own children. They do it here though. That's like how twisted these people are and how much they like hate us and want to fuck with us. I don't think people. Maybe this guy does understand that. Like I've said before. They're the least threatening radical group, libertarians. You say racial? Is that racial group? Yeah, they're the least. Libertarians don't have that much power. I mean, they have power within the Republican Party, which is probably why there's like a libertarian subset within the Republican Party, like with Rand Paul and people like that, who probably don't. They would probably be against a lot of this kind of stuff. There's free markets for everybody, whatever. And those would be the kind of people that would be very upset, especially if we did do a ban of all the current shit and disable all the current shit that's already here. That would be a lot more unpopular, a lot more controversial. And that's a second step. And it probably wouldn't even be necessary, because if you stop the new stuff coming in, it's only a matter of years before you've effectively like just destroyed all of the usage, like I already described with the banning the manufacture of new fully automatic weapons. Whenever you do something like that, you've set a time limit. to where it's gonna go away. If all you did was ban the importation of this stuff, it's going away. Um, it would only be a matter of time at that point. But yeah, it would be better if they could just wipe it all out immediately.
Be that ridiculous and two-faced. We can't pick and choose. Manufacture in China has been a thing for many, many years because of the cost that they were willing to achieve to bring the product price down, because Americans are so fixated on the cost of things that to manufacture something here in the States was going to cost, essentially 20% more than what it would cost, and sometimes 50% more than what it would cost to do it overseas. But we can't be two-faced about this. We can't complain about the problem that we created. We were looking for solutions.
That's ridiculous. Okay, well, first off, all the stuff I've said previously already applies. We can absolutely pick and choose like certain things. Even if we're gonna have to pay more or whatever, if they have security implications, we can absolutely say we don't want that stuff, but we don't care about Happy Meal toys or Legos or whatever they make. But this other fucking thing where you're saying, well, we created the problem, so we can't complain about it. Well, they probably didn't realize it was a problem when this was first starting up, when we opened up to China and we're starting to we were more worried about when we initially started doing this. If you're talking about on a grander scale, we were more worried about the Soviets and that kind of shit. And then they went away, and China was slowly over time rising up to become a near peer competitor with us. And so, yeah, things change. We can absolutely change our mind, say, yeah, it was a mistake. They shouldn't have invested so heavily there. And now we need to start taking measures to rectify the mistake and get manufacturing out of there, starting with the stuff that's particularly important and security related. And yeah, we've got to start taking steps to reverse that. Like the idea that we made this problem and we caused it. And so now we've just got to live with it. This just got to be the way it is. And we've got to just continue to make it worse and do nothing. That's nuts.
To manufacture things cheaper. And when drones were being developed for consumers, really not too many American companies showed interest. You had 3DR at the time. Parrot was creating drones, albeit they were a French company. But there really wasn't very many options in the American space. I could think of maybe one or two. They didn't gain enough backing. Their product wasn't good enough. They were forgotten. That is evolution of a product. That happens when something isn't good enough. And look where we are today. People are crying that the American drones weren't given a chance. They never had a chance because they never had a product that was ready to go, and they just didn't give a shit. You can't start the race, 30.
I don't give this is such an irrelevant argument that oh, well, now we're going to have slightly worse consumer level drones. Who the fuck cares? Other than people like this dude. If it's causing, is it really worth it to have a slightly cheaper drone that performs slightly better that you can have, but it's causing it's massively undermining our fucking security interests in the United States. The Chinese are using it to spy on us. They're using it. They're going to use it to fuck with us. And then there's all the manufacturing art. There's a whole nother side to that. No, it's not fucking worth it. It's not worth it to have a slightly better little camera toy that you can fly around, dude. I'm sorry. But I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I'm not going to watch. This whole thing's 45 minutes long, which means this video would end up being 3 hours long if I responded to all of this. I think I've made all the points I wanted to make. I'm not going to dwell too much on this. I just wanted to bring it up as an issue. It was just something I noticed, and I fully support banning, for sure, this company. They're the worst ones. They're the biggest one, which makes them the biggest problem. Because like I said, the access to the data shit really becomes a much bigger issue when you're talking about massive amounts of data. As I said before, it doesn't matter too much. If it was just 5 little, Chinese made drones collecting data, it wouldn't make any difference. It's just random fuckers flying it around. It's when you get these huge numbers of it, and they can access this and extrapolate shit out of it that is relevant. That is relevant to our security. that does fucking matter. The manufacturing side matters too, especially if what this guy was saying was true. If it is like that we're incapable of making effective drones which are used for first responders and like something that is directly related to homeland security, that's a massive issue. That's an issue with the manufacturing too. That should be being made here. We shouldn't have to rely on a foreign adversary to get technology which is required for our homeland security. We shouldn't have to do that. That's nuts to me. That's probably the most offensive of the things that guy said. And like I said, he's just harping on that because he does a drone YouTube channel, and the drone nerds are going to be very upset about this because they can't buy their Chinese spy drones, which perform slightly better than the American drones, which don't really exist anymore. Like I said, there's that one little kind of hybrid company that doesn't make them here, but controls the data. But even like, I don't know. They're just very upset that now maybe Americans are going to start, and they probably will. There will probably be somebody that shows up and says, well, if DJI isn't making consumer drones in America, somebody will fill that void, whether it's an American company or a friendly foreign nation that has a company that wants to make them and sell them. It's a massive market. Someone will fill the gap. And what he's really complaining about is that whoever fills that gap is likely to have a slightly less quality with respect. So we're talking like, oh, well, maybe this drone doesn't stay in. It has like 5 minutes less fly time. It has like 1 mile less range. It, I don't know. It bobbles a little more in the wind, and it costs like an extra $100. That's what they're bitching about here. just so we're clear about how petty and ridiculous this is. Most people don't even give a fuck about those kind of things, and they'll probably catch up. Things will get better. Whoever starts doing it will innovate and invest more into the engineering, right? That would make sense. If they can like succeed in the market, they can improve their own product and put better stuff out. And then they might be interested in competing in other countries with this DJI place, but they've always got their home turf in America, which provides the bulk of their income. And then maybe they do get better. And I think that they would. When you do have a company that's that dominant, it is kind of hard for someone to get their foot in the door. But we'll see. I don't know that much about it. I don't care that much about it. I just felt like bitching about this for a minute because it annoyed me when I ran across this video. So that's all I got. Have a great night.